Chapter 14. Abigail continued to drive, making her way to Philadelphia, but running low on gas. She was hoping to find a working gas station, but all the ones she had passed were either closed or burnt down. Most of her surroundings, as she drove, were now barren ashes, void of any clue that life could have previously been maintained there. A truly depressing sight, and now Abigail was on the verge of being stranded in a powerless car, in the middle of the void. Abigail's car sputtered to a stop in the middle of the highway. Abigail did not see the need to pull over on the shoulder of the road, being that she had not seen any other car on the road since the parked cars in North Carolina. She got out of her car and looked in the back seat, seeing if there was any reserve gasoline or anything useful. She was wishing that she had her bike, so at least she'd not have to walk the rest of the journey. "What is the point of walking?" Abigail responded aloud to her own thought. "By the time I get there, the city will be gone." Abigail popped the trunk and opened the hood in search of gasoline, but instead found a decent second-place prize. It was a collapsible bicycle. What is it doing in the trunk of an elderly woman's car? Abigail dared not question, but she was indeed grateful. Abigail spent a few minutes studying the bike and determining the proper way to unfold it so that it was in working order. She erected the bike, checked the tires, and jumped on. She felt energized and strong and started pedaling her way up the highway. She was in the middle of Maryland and knew she had a ways to go before reaching her Pennsylvania destination, but she did not lose hope. She rode on, ignoring her body's cry for thirst and ignoring the road signs as they passed by. She lost track of time in her focused ride, and before she knew it, she glanced a sign out of the corner of her eye that read, "Philadelphia, 3 miles away." Abigail thought that her proximity to the city was impossible and pulled over to check the time. She raised her wrist to check the hour, but instead of seeing the time, all she saw was her naked arm. Apparently, her watch had been stolen along with her wallet. "Damn gypsies," she thought. She looked onward and saw the skyline of Philadelphia in the horizon, billowing smoke like a chimney. She thought she might have been too late when the flaming head of her target poked its head into the sky. Abigail continued her travels, watching the bird dance around the sky with fighter planes. With graceful attacks, the planes were picked off one by one, and then the assault on the ground continued. Abigail entered the city and followed the sounds of gunshots and screaming. She quickly found herself among a battalion of soldiers, all covered in soot and blood. A familiar look. "What are you doing here? You need to get out of here, miss!" a soldier screamed as he ran up to Abigail. "I need to see it," Abigail expressed as she dismounted her bike. "This is not some show and tell. This is a serious threat. I cannot allow you to proceed any farther." Abigail hesitated a moment as she looked up at the gigantic fire beast that took sight of her. The bird gently landed, keeping its keen eyes on Abigail. With quick hops, it approached, sustaining fire from the soldiers' weapons the entire time. Mesmerized, Abigail slowly approached the orange and red glowing bird. The soldier who tried to stop her earlier allowed her to pass, as he too was in a trance. Abigail stopped only feet away from the bird, which bent its head down and unleashed a harsh, deafening squawk. Abigail wanted to cover her ears or cower in fear, but she did not. She remained calm. The bird leaned down closer, placing its face directly in front of Abigail. Abigail could feel the heat emanating from the flames jumping off its beak. The bird then opened its beak again, Abigail expecting to hear another screech, but instead it spoke in a soothing manner.
"Who are you?"
"My name is Abigail Winthrop."
"You were there at my rebirth. Why do you come back to me?"
Before Abigail had a chance to answer, their conversation was interrupted. The bird quickly turned its head and spat a flaming ball of fire into the battalion. Their screams were short-lived as they incinerated and dissipated into the air. "I am drawn to you. I want to understand you. I want to stop you."
"Are you not afraid? You are mortal. I am a god."
"You would have already destroyed me if I had anything to fear. You are just as intrigued by me as I am by you."
"You do not understand. I have a mission, and it ultimately ends with your demise. Sparing you now, it's only prolonging the inevitable."
"Then I thank you for my borrowed time. I assure you I will use it justly. Is there anything I can say that will persuade you to stop the destruction?"
"Sadly, there is not. You, as a people, have brought this upon yourself. I am simply cleaning up the mess."
"Then I must try to stop you in whatever way I can."
"I implore you to try,"
the bird said in a boastful tone. Abigail looked to the sky as a string of planes appeared above. She She studied them from afar and recognized them to be bombers, which speckled out what looked to be little black dots mid-flight. They must have dropped bombs, Abigail thought in the paddock. The birds stared up at the bombs falling their way, and then looked back at Abigail. The bombs were approaching fast, and moments before striking, the bird lunged at Abigail. Abigail closed her eyes at the sound of the explosion, and could feel her skin beginning to singe from the heat.